You can see the eyes are a little bit darker. We don't see as much detail, and then some other things are going to be required to kind of fix this up. So we're going to start it off in the same way. We'll make a curves adjustment layer, okay? With my brush tool, choose a nice small brush, and let's just go ahead and crank this up. I'm going to hit Control or Command I on that, and now with my brush tool, we're just going to paint like this kind of stuff. Again, I usually just try to avoid painting like big, blotches of like, big fuzzy, like generally I don't want to just do that. It doesn't look as real. This looks good. Well, not yet, but it will in a second. And it looks more random. It looks more like real, basically. All right, so let's add a blur to it. There we go. And that randomness looks nice and good. All right, then we want to zoom out to make sure we're actually lightening the eyes an appropriate amount. Sometimes it's easy to go overboard, so you want to make sure you can see the image as a whole. There we go, like that. It looks cool, but they're too bright. You can see how they're brighter than like anything else. All right, so you want to make sure that's like believable bright. All right, and I'm going to paint black over here on the left, just a little bit. There we go, looking good. All right, now let's go ahead and add some detail into these eyes. Why not? With my brush tool, again, I'm just going to paint, you know what? I'll just paint red. It doesn't really matter what color I paint. I can always change it later. Just gonna add like little spots and stuff like that because I can't see a ton of detail in the eye. I just would like to see a little bit more. So I'm basically like adding my own detail here. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's change our layer blend mode to something like color dodge, which is gonna give us a really interesting look. Okay, color dodge looks good. Let's go ahead and give this a blur so it kind of blends in a little bit better. Now in this case, we're only looking to blur it so it doesn't look like brush strokes anymore. Like that's as far as I wanna blur it. I don't wanna go crazy. There we go, that looks good. Now keep in mind we painted with red originally. I can always change that. Just make sure you're on the same layer that you painted red and hit Control or Command U, which is hue saturation. You also can go to Image, Adjustments, and down here to hue saturation, which, by the way, you can see the keyboard shortcut for, Control or Command U. There we go. Now I'm going to take my hue and bump it to the left or to the right. That looks kind of cool. You can take your saturation and bring it down or bring it up as well. And I can work on my lightness too. All right, there we go. So that looks pretty good. And if it's too much of an effect, just lower your opacity a little bit. All right, but there we go. We've added some lightness and some detail into the eyes. Let's go ahead and zoom out again and make sure it still looks realistic. If it's too much, just go in here and lower the curves or lower your opacity or whatever have you. All right, let's go ahead and zoom in. Now, the next thing we're gonna take care of, let's grab a new layer, some of these like little veins and things like that here in the eyes. That's like totally normal. People have veins in their eyes. Oftentimes you wanna retouch those out. So we'll create a new layer, and next we're going to use our, there we go, spot healing brush tool. Now, the spot healing brush tool is really, really great for this sort of thing. You just wanna make sure you got a couple options checked. At the top, you wanna make sure your mode is normal. You want to make sure your type is content aware. That's going to do a real good job filling in the areas and keeping an idea of what's in the surrounding areas. And then we want to make sure to hit sample all layers, and that's going to allow us to do something on a new layer. If you don't have sample all layers checked, then you have to do this on your background layer, which you don't want. Okay, so now with all those checked, basically my goal is just to paint right over all these like little veins or the areas that I don't want to be in the eye. So something like that works really, really well. Even get rid of things like this and oftentimes even hairs like that. So this tool is really, really great. Now when it comes to right below the eyes, there we go. We're gonna basically use the same tool to get rid of any like makeup smudges or things that we just don't want to see. All right. Cool, let's go ahead and work on this other eye too. keyboard shortcut for this tool is J, by the way. Okay. Here we go. That looks pretty good. Cool. So we just took care of a few of those little things in the eye. All right. Now the next thing we're going to work on with these eyes is enhancing our catch light. The catch light is